Hey there, hi there, and ho there. It's me, GameZar, and this is Stoned History. Today we're going to be talking about the fall of Constantinople and the rise of Istanbul. But first, before we do that, let's take a hit from our bowl and get intoxicated from our medical marijuana. We do not condone or endorse anything illegal. We simply just do. However, that being said, if you would like to vape or smoke along with us, you can do so. The stuff we're smoking is Grape Thai from the Rise Dispensary in Meadville. Nice. Anywho, let's talk about the fall of Constantinople. The attacking Ottoman Empire, which significantly outnumbered Constantinople's defenders, were commanded by 21-year-old Sultan Mehmed, also nicknamed Mehmed II, nicknamed the Conqueror, while the Byzantine army was led by Constantine 11 Palaiologos. After conquering the city, Mehmed II made Constantinople the new Ottoman capital, replacing Adrianople. The fall of Constantinople and the Byzantine Empire was a watershed moment of the late Middle Ages, marking the effective end of the Roman Empire, a state which began roughly 27 BC and lasted nearly 1,500 years. For many modern historians, the fall of Constantinople marks the end of the medieval period and the beginning of the early modern period. The city's fall also stood as a turning point in military history. You know, somebody commented on one of my videos, wet mouth, and it's like, yeah, my medication makes my mouth wet. Fuck you. Hydrate or dihydrate. I drink a lot of water, too, to try and solve this problem, and it doesn't do anything, so fuck you. Fuck you. The city's fall also stood as a turning point in military history. Since ancient times, cities and castles have depended upon ramparts and walls to repel invaders. The walls of Constantinople, especially the Theodosian walls, protected Constantinople for 800 years and were noted as some of the most advanced defensive systems in the world at the time. However, these fortifications were overcome by Ottoman infantry with the support of gunpowder, specifically from cannonballs and bombards, heralding a change in siege warfare. The Ottoman cannons repeatedly fired massive cannonballs weighing 500 kilograms over 1.5 kilometers, which created gaps in the Theodosian walls for the Ottoman siege. Basically, they came in guns a-slinging and were like, we want Constantinople, motherfucker! The background. Constantinople had been an imperial capital since its consecration in 330 under Roman Emperor Constantine the Great. In the following 11 centuries, the city had been besieged many times but only captured once before. The sack of Constantinople during the Fourth Crusade in 1204. The Crusaders established an unstable Latin sea state around Constantinople, while the remainder of the Byzantine Empire splintered into a number of successor states, notably Nicaea, Epirus, and Trebizond. They fought as allies against the Latin establishments, but also fought amongst themselves for the Byzantine throne. The Nicaeans eventually reconquered Constantinople from the Latins in 1261, re-establishing the Byzantine Empire under the Palaiologos, whatever his name is, dynasty. Palaiologos dynasty. Thereafter, there was little peace for the much weakened empire, as it fended off successive attacks from the Latins, Serbs, Bulgarians, and Ottoman Turks. Foreshadowing. Between 1346 and 1349, the Black Death killed almost all the inhabitants of Constantinople. The city was further depopulated by the general economic and territorial decline of the empire, and by 1453, it consisted of a series of walled villages separated. It consisted of a series of walled villages separated by vast fields and encircled by 5th century Theodosian walls, ripe for the taking. By 1450, the empire is exhausted and has shrunk to a few square kilometers outside the city of Constantinople itself. The Princess Islands and the Sea of Marmara and the Peloponnese, with a cultural center in Mestres. The Empire of Trebizond, an independent successor state that formed in the aftermath of the Fourth Crusade, was also present at the time at the coast of the Black Sea. Sorry. At the beginning of the siege, Mehmed sent out some of his best troops to reduce the remaining Byzantine strongholds outside the city of Constantinople. The fortress of Therapia on the Bosphorus and a small castle at the village of Studius near the Sea of Marmara were taken within a few days. The Prince's Island and the Sea of Marmara were likely taken by Admiral Baltoglu's fleet during this phase of the siege. Mehmed's massive cannons fired on the walls for weeks, but due to their impression and extremely slow rate of fire, the Byzantines were able to repair most of their damage at each shot, mitigating the effect of the Ottoman artillery. Despite some probing attacks, the Ottoman fleet under Baltoglu did not enter the Golden Horn due to the chain across the entrance, although one of the fleet's main tasks was to prevent any foreign ships from entering the Golden Horn. On 420, a small flotilla of 4 Christian ships managed to get in after some heavy fighting, an event which strengthened the morale of the defenders and caused an embarrassment to the Sultan. Baltoglu was most likely injured in the eye during the skirmish. Mehmed stripped Baltoglu of his wealth and property and gave it to the Janissaries and ordered him to be whipped 100 times. Based! Mehmed ordered the construction of a road and greased logs across Galata on the north side of the Golden Horn and dragged his ships over the hill directly into the Golden Horn on the 22nd of April, bypassing the chain barrier. This action seriously threatened the flow of supplies from the Genoese ships on the normally neutral colony of Pera, and it demoralized the Byzantine defenders. On the 28th of April, an attempt was made to destroy the Ottoman ships already in the Golden Horn using fire ships, but the Ottomans forced the Christians to retreat with many casualties. 40 Italians escaped their sinking ships and swam to the northern shore. On orders of Mehmed, they were impaled on stakes inside of the city's defenders on the sea walls across the Golden Horn. In retaliation, the defenders brought their Ottoman prisoners, 260 in all, to the walls, where they were executed one by one before the eyes of the Ottomans. The Ottoman army had made several frontal assaults on the land of the wall of Constantinople, but they were costly failures. Venetian surgeon Niccolo Barbaro, describing in his diary one such land attack in the Janissaries, wrote, "They found the Turks coming right up under the walls and seeking battle, particularly the Janissaries. When one or two of them was killed, at least one at once, more Turks came and took away the dead ones, without caring how near they were to the city walls. Our men shot at them with guns and crossbows, aiming at the Turk who was carrying away the dead countrymen. Both of them would fall to the ground dead, and then there came another Turk and took them away, not fearing death, but being willing to let tens of themselves be killed rather than suffer the shame of living. A single Turkish corpse by the wall, leaving a single Turkish corpse by the wall." After these inconclusive attacks, The Ottomans sought to break through the walls by constructing tunnels to mine them from mid-May to 25 May. Many of the sappers were miners of Serbian origin sent to Novo Brdo under the command of Zagan Pasha. An engineer named Johannes Grant, a German who came from the Genoese contingent, had countermines dug, allowing Byzantine troops to enter the mines and kill the miners. The Byzantines intercepted the first tunnel on the night of 16 May. Subsequent tunnels were erupted on 21, 23, 25 May and destroyed with Greek fire and vigorous combat. Greek fire is crazy. We should talk about Greek fire for a little bit. Because, Greek fire just disappears. It was used by the Byzantine Empire from the 7th and 14th century. The recipe is a closely guarded state secret. Historians speculated it was based on saltpeter, sulfur, and quicklime, but most modern scholars agree that it was based on petroleum mixed with resins, and basically modern napalm. But no one knows what it was, and its method of deployment was projection through a tube, and they just lit it on fire. They also had grenades for this shit. Other countries tried to make it and couldn't make it. On 21st of May, Mehmed sent out an ambassador to Constantinople and offered to lift the siege if they gave him the city. He promised he would allow the emperor and any other inhabitants to leave with their possessions. He would recognize the emperor governor of the Peloponnese. Lastly, he guaranteed the safety of the population that might choose to remain in the city. Constantine XI agreed only to pay higher tributes to the Sultan and recognized the status of all the conquered castles and lands in the hands of the Turks as Ottoman possessions. The emperor was not willing to leave the city without a fight. As surrendering the city to you, it is not for me to decide or for anyone else of our citizens for us to have reached mutual decision to die of our own free will without any regard of our lives. The final assault. Boom, 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 boom. Preparations for the final assault began in the evening on the 26th of May and continued to the next day. For 36 hours after the war, the council decided to attack. The Ottomans excessively mobilized their manpower for the general offensive. Prayer and resting was then granted to the soldiers on 28 May before the final assault would be launched. On the Byzantine side, a small Venetian fleet of 12 ships, after having searched the Aegean, reached Constantinople on 27 May and reported to the emperor that no large Venetian fleet was on its way. And I think it's time to take another rip. Alrighty, back to it. Back to it. Prayer and resting was then granted to the soldiers on the 28th of May before the final assault would be launched. On the Byzantine side, a small Venetian fleet of 12 ships, after having searched the Aegean, reached Constantinople on the 27th of May, and reported to the emperor that no large Venetian relief fleet was on its way. On the 28th of May, as the Ottoman army prepared for the final assault, religious mass processions were held in the city. In the evening, a solemn last ceremony of Vespers was held in the Hagia Sophia, in which the emperor and representatives of the nobility, both spoke in Latin and Greek churches, partook. Up until this point, the Ottoman had fired 5,000 shots from their cannon, using 15,000 pounds of gunpowder. Damn! Criers roamed the camp to the sound of the blasting horns, rousing the Ghazis. Shortly after midnight, Tuesday, 29 May, the offensive began. The Christian troops of the Ottoman Empire attacked first, followed by successive waves of the irregular Azaps, who were poorly trained and equipped in the Anatolian Turkmen Beylik forces on the second section of the damaged Blachernay walls. The section of the walls had been built earlier in the 11th century, and was much weaker. The Turkmen mercenaries had managed to breach this section of the wall and entered the city, but they were just as quickly being pushed back by the defenders. Finally, the last wave, consisting of elite janissaries, attacked the city walls. The Genoese general in charge of the defenders of the land, Giovanni, I'm not pronouncing that last name, was grievously wounded during the attack, and his evacuation from the ramparts caused a panic in the ranks of the defenders. When his Genoese troops retreating into the Giustiniani, I said that wrong. Whatever. Constantine and his men, now left to their own devices, continued to hold their ground against the Janissaries. Constantine's men eventually could not prevent the Ottomans from entering the city, and the defenders were overwhelmed at several points along the wall. Janissaries, led by Ulubatli Hassan, pressed forward. Many Greek soldiers ran back home to protect their families. The Venetians retreated to their ships, and a few of the Genoese escaped to the Galata. The rest surrendered by or committed suicide by jumping off the city walls. The Greek houses nearest to the walls were the first to suffer from the Ottomans. It is said that Constantine, throwing aside his purple imperial regalia, led the final charge against the incoming Ottomans, perishing in the ensuing battle in the streets. The Venetian Niccolo Barbaro claimed in his diary that Constantine hanged himself at the moment, and the Turks broke in. Ultimately, his fate remains unknown. After the initial assault, the Ottoman army fanned out along the main gate thoroughfares of the city, the Messi, past the great forums of the Church of the Holy Apostles, which Mehmed II wanted to provide as a seat for his newly appointed patriarch to better control his Christian subjects. Mehmed II had sent an advance guard to protect these key buildings. The Catalans that had maintained a position on the section of the wall that the emperor had assigned them had the honor of being the last troops to fall. The Sultan had Pere Julia, his sons in the council, Joan de la Villa, amongst others, beheaded. A few civilians managed to escape. When the Venetians retreated over to their ships, the Ottomans had already taken the walls of the Golden Horn. Luckily for the occupants of the city, Ottomans were not interested in killing potentially valuable slaves, but rather in the loot that they could get it from raiding of the city's houses, so they decided to take the city instead. The Venetian captain ordered his men to break open the gate of the Golden Horn. Having done so, the Venetian left its ships filled with soldiers and refugees. Shortly after the Venetians left, a few Genoese ships and even the emperor's ships followed them out of the Golden Horn. This fleet narrowly escaped prior to the Ottoman Navy assuming control over the Golden Horn, which was accomplished by midday. We're not going to talk about the atrocities. There's a lot. The aftermath. Well, the Ottoman Empire. Aftermath. Fall of Constantinople shocked many Europeans who viewed it as a catastrophic event for their civilization. Byzantium legacy. $1453, best year of my life. That's all I gotta say. Yeah, they literally renamed the city. That's what happened. That's the legacy. Bada bing, bada boom. Istanbul was Constantinople. Now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. That was the whole point of this video. Have a good one. See ya.